And we are back. Hello, 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 everyone. And I love that song. It is so good for us to dream big. We've been doing some manifestation work. So I'd love to know in the chats what are some of those big dreams that each one of you have? What have you all wanted to manifest? What have you been working through? What are some of those big dreams? Um, there's no such thing as a dream big and not too big. So let us know. I'd love to know and help you manifest that as well. So part of what I teach is a lot of manifestation, is a lot of energy work, is a lot of aligning yourself, a lot of money consciousness, money mindset, reprogramming our minds, getting rid of any entanglements, getting past limiting beliefs. I will be going through a lot of that inside Expansion Alchemy. One of the first months that I have, actually, I came up with an entire manifest process that I am so excited to teach you all about. So yes, Expansion Alchemy. Before we do that, so Genevieve Searle, and this woman, she's actually a really big part of Expansion Alchemy for me, because her and I had a call, and she was the one that kind of lit the fire under my ass, I should say, in order for me to sit in that 4-hour meditation that I was telling you about on Wednesday. And in that meditation, Expansion Alchemy came to me, and Quantum Maxima came to me. So I do have Genevieve to thank for a lot of Expansion Alchemy and helping to inspire me and putting that fire underneath me in order to get me to here today in the now, serving you and allowing all of you to be in my horizon and guiding you through this expansion. So Genevieve Searle, aka the Optimization Queen, has spoken on the TEDx stage on how to thrive in an era of uncertainty. And we all know how uncertain life is right now. This wild woman mentors game-changing women to align with their genetic genius so that they can actualize their soul purpose. Genevieve combines cutting-edge epigenetics and hormonal profiling. That's a mouthful to say, by the way. Ancestral alchemy, relationship, translation, embodiment, movement, functional breathing, and deep soul work. She is also an Amazon #1 bestseller and co-author, same book as I am, with The Women Gone Wild. So today she is talking all about epigenetics and the ultimate partner to your quantum maxima life. Hello, Genevieve. You're muted.
There we go. Yes. Okay, I'm here. Hello. Thank you, Ania. Yeah, amazing. We're just going to play today. I'm super excited to be here, and it's going to be a bit of a wild ride because there's so much here that I really want to share with you. As Ania said, yes. Now, where am I? Oh, hang on. Okay, Ania, can I do a share screen as well, please?
Yes, I've made you co-host, so you're able to share screen.
Work for me. Okay, here we go. Now we go back to here. Okay. So, yes. Let me just bring you all in on this journey with me. Epigenetics. Now, I just listened to Nathan, and that was amazing, and he was so beautiful to hear. And I guess what I want to do is just really bring some very practical, cutting edge science to the table. And the reason that I want to do that is I have spent the last 25 years really working on hacking my health, myself, my parenting, and my relationships. And in that process, I have racked up an enormous amount of experience. I have come to this place where now I use epigenetics and hormonal profiling as the basis of all of my work. But I have these multiple pathways of working with epigenetics. And what I have found is when we have a really strong foundation of actually knowing who we are, then we can expand into possibility. So that's what I do, is I provide people pathways home to themselves. And I like Nathan was talking about, and even Ania was talking about, it's around the simplification of how do we just fast track. You know, I've spent 25 years, a quarter of a century. It's a long time. It's a long time to work, to be going into trying to understand who I am and how I work and how I operate. And so what I'm hoping to do with this is and what I love doing with my work is helping people fast track so that they don't have to spend 25 years getting to the information and the body embodiment and the awareness that it's taken me to. So epigenetics is essentially the science of our relationship with life. This is about gene expression. So if you can just imagine the genes in our body being like the wiring in our house, and when we go into a room, we can turn a light switch on and off. We don't change the wiring in the house, but we can change the expression of it. Epigenetics, we don't change the wiring in our body. Our DNA doesn't change. In fact, our DNA, even though it's woven together every time we're conceived, or every time a child's conceived, DNA is woven together from the parents. But that DNA hasn't, apart from being woven together, it hasn't actually changed over millions of years. But the expression of it changes all the time. And that is what epigenetics does. Epigenetics does. This is the dance of life. And what influences our epigenetic expression is everything in our world. It's the food that we eat, the light that we live under, the relationships we have, the air that we breathe, the thoughts we think, the beliefs we have, the movement we do, the space we live in, and the experiences that we've had, and also where we've come from, our ancestry. So every single part of our lives influences our gene expression. And when we're in chaos, when we don't understand how this works for us, then we are going to forever be struggling with, we're going to be in survival mode. And so when we can understand this and we can know how to align with our unique epigenetic genius, then we can expand into possibility. So exactly this, we need to understand it, we need to know how to align to it, and then we can expand into the potential of who we can be. Expansion comes when we can weather the storms with a strong foundation. So expansion, and this is how, when we're going to go through life and we have these storms, we have these, like, life happens. We live in intense times. We live in uncertainty. And our capacity to be able to navigate that is going to be dependent on how strong and how aligned we are with the truth of who we are. When we have that really strong pillar within ourselves and we know how to meet our own needs, we know how to meet our core needs, we know how to deal with stuff as they come up because we have tools, we have resources, and we have a core understanding of who we are, then we can meet whatever comes at us. And when we can do that, then we have the chance of like going from beyond survival mode into possibility and into potential. So coming back to these core foundational pieces of understanding who we are and having pathways to get back to that place of centeredness and groundedness is so vitally important if we want to be able to move out of survival mode and into expansion, into possibility. If we want to quantum leap our life, we got to start from the beginning. And that's what this information does. It allows us to quantum leap our health, ourself, our relationships of all kinds. It also allows us to quantum leap other areas like wealth and our business and all of those things. But where I really shine is with health, self, and relationships. And that's what I'm going to be bringing into Xpansion Alchemy. And I'm going to be doing it through helping you with these pathways: breath, movement, epigenetic profiling, hacking the senses, and ancestral alchemy are the core fundamental pieces that I work with. And in Xpansion Alchemy, we will be expanding into all of these spaces. People through the last 3 days have been talking to you about breath. They've been taking you on these amazing breathwork experiences. They've been bringing to you all sorts of different kinds of breath and breathwork pathways. Breath is, as Nathan was just saying then, absolutely fundamental in being, it's just a fundamental path. It's like the number one, it's the first thing we do. We come out of the womb and we breathe, right? This is like the baseline. The kind of breath work that I'm talking about is functional breathing. Again, this is simplicity. It's not holotropic breath work or ecstatic breath work. This is foundational, day-to-day breathing for life. And we need to know how to do this because most people don't know how to breathe properly. About 80% of the population can't breathe properly. And if we can't breathe properly, everything else is going to be thrown out. So number one thing that will be thrown out is our nervous systems. And I know people have been talking about our nervous systems, nervous system regulation. We have to be able to regulate our nervous system. And we are in a feedback loop with our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous system and our breath. And if our breath is out, then it doesn't matter how much mindfulness stuff, how much plant medicine we do, how much manifestation we do, how much anything, any of the other tools that I will bring sit on top of functional breathing. It's like the number one priority of being able to breathe properly through your day. So we'll talk about that. Movement. Again, it's such a foundational piece, but the kind of movement that I bring is non-linear movement. And I often do it through dance. And I'm hoping possibly maybe at the end of this, I'm going to be able to play something, but we'll see how we go. I don't know if that's going to work. And we can actually drop into a bit of non-linear movement because non-linear movement changes everything. It can change a whole bunch of things. So we're going to dive into that a bit more as well. We're also going to talk about epigenetic profiling. This is mind-blowing technology that is based on an AI platform that helps people understand themselves at a fundamental hormonal wiring level. It's incredibly powerful. We're also going to talk about hacking the senses. So if we need to know how to, just like Nathan was speaking about just before, we have our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind and our unconscious speaks in the language of the sensory experience. So when we know how to speak the language of our unconscious and we can communicate, we can then start to hack our subconscious. And finally, there's ancestral alchemy. We don't exist in a vacuum. We only exist in context. So everything that has happened before us, it lives within us. All of the stories and the lives of our ancestors are woven into our bones. And if we don't understand this, then we're going to be at the mercy, really, of the imprinting that we have. So I'll talk a bit more about that as well. So starting with the breath, when we know how to functionally breathe, when we know how to breathe on the daily, we can recalibrate the nervous system in minutes. And I have an amazing story. I have a number of amazing stories, but one in particular, I had a client who would come in and she was having panic attacks that were lasting hours, often resulting in hospitalization. And she was wandering around just generally with 5 Valium in her pocket, just in case. So as she was wandering around, I'm just going to move this to the side. As she was wandering around, with these Valium in her pocket, just desperately trying to, get through her day without a panic attack. Literally, that was how bad it was. Every part of her life was completely disrupted. I taught her one technique, one breathing technique. We're going to do it here right now. It's so super simple. And 10 days later after this, I got this text message from her and she said, "Oh my God, I just had a panic attack and I resolved it in 10 minutes with your breathing process." She now does not carry Valium in her pack. She's left her job. She's opened up her dream job. She's completely realigned the relationship with her partner. Her life has changed just from being able to recalibrate her nervous system in the moment and knowing that she's not crazy. That's key. So it also will upgrade all of the systems in the body. So when we can breathe practically, functionally in the moment on the daily, we are dealing with our lymphatic system. We actually pump our lymphatic system 20,000 times. I'm not going to go any more into all of those things, but just know that your lymphatic system, your cardiovascular system, your nervous system, your musculoskeletal system, every single part of your body, every system in your body is deeply related to your breath. And when we know how to work effectively with our breath in the moment, we have a very fast, a very simple, and an absolutely free tool that is an incredibly powerful resource in our pocket that we can pull out at any time. So the 4 simple principles of breathing effectively are NLSD, nose, light, slow, and deep. That's it. We will expand deeper into this in Expansion and Alchemy, but for right now, I just want to give you the opportunity to test this out for yourself. So we want to make sure that we breathe in and out only through our nose. We want to make it as light as possible. So we want to breathe like ninjas. We want to make sure that we slow our breathing down so it has time for the oxygen to go into our system. And we want to breathe it down deep into our lower belly so that we're actually getting it into our body. So while I'm speaking, I invite you to place your left finger over your left nostril, to place your right hand over your belly, and to just slow your breathing down while you're listening to me, to ideally be breathing in for 5 seconds and breathing out for 5 seconds. And I want you to be able to feel your belly very gently, because we're breathing like ninjas, very gently expanding as you're doing this. So just play with that as we go along. So the next piece that I love working with so much is nonlinear movement. I speak about this in my TEDx talk. Ecstatic dance, free movement, whatever it is, we are so linear in our world, and all of our movement modalities, nearly all movement modalities, are all about form and function and making sure that we get our knees over our toes and we make sure we have the correct form, and that's really good, except that we're constantly in this box, this framework of how to move. And when we're in a physical box of how we move, when we walk in a certain way, we do our exercise in a certain way, we move in a very limited plane of, like in a very limited plane. And everything that happens within us also happens without us. So it's like the micro and the macro, right? So when we move in a limited way, we are also limiting the way that we think. We're limiting the way that we can meet life, because we're in this box. When we step into nonlinear movement, to free movement, to ecstatic dance, to just moving weird and wonderfully in all different pathways, then we actually reprogram. We can reprogram cellular memory. We can move through trauma. We can reprogram the subconscious mind. It's incredibly powerful. And through Expansion Alchemy, yes, I'm going to be taking you through movement, nonlinear movement, magical mastermind sessions. It's going to be super fun. And in that place, we can drop out of our story, we drop out of our mind, we drop out of our default mode network, and we can drop into the expression of our soul. And that's when our possibility can start to flow through us. It's unbelievably powerful. And I have done a lot of journeying in all sorts of different arenas. And I would say that ecstatic dance is one of the most powerful pathways to transformation that is available out there, anywhere, ever. Hacking the senses, the language of the subconscious mind. There is a pathway. There are pathways that we can communicate with our subconscious mind. It's very simple. It's very doable. And this is through, yes, the sensory experience, because pre-language, we are understanding the world and we are making associations and links with the world that do not require language. It's through an association between a smell or a taste or a sight or a sound or what we touch. So when we understand that, we can reverse engineer we can reverse engineer our subconscious mind. We can reverse engineer our epigenetic imprinting through hacking our senses. And the way that I love to teach this, and we will be teaching this, I will teach you how to hack your own senses. I will teach you how to hack your subconscious mind through ceremony and ritual. Ceremony literally is just a big experience that takes all of your attention. Like, that's the intention of ceremony. It's just like, pay attention to this. It's really important. It's different to normal. And ritual is the repetition of behavior intentionally. That's all it is. And so we're going to do all of that. But you can do You can do all of these already. You know, you can know how to breathe properly. It's like nose, light, slow, deep. That's all you need to know. Go practice it. You can know how to move in a nonlinear pathway and break up the rhythm of the ordinary through just putting on some music and dancing to it. But yeah, we're going to dive deeper into all of this in Expansion Alchemy. I'm so excited to share it. It's super fun. I'm such a nerd with the stuff. Ancestral alchemy, we're also going to be talking about this. So you are woven from the stories and the lives and the experiences of your ancestors. You don't exist in context. You don't exist in vacuum. You only exist in context. And if we don't understand where we have come from, good luck in trying to figure out where we can go next, because we are not grounded in the truth of who we are. We need to know who we are. We need a foundation of who we are. And there is this, we are this incredible elixir of potential that is crafted from more than 1,000 generations. It runs literally through our veins. And when we understand how to work with and how to alchemize all of this, knowing that it's not just trauma, it's not just negativity that we carry in our veins and literally on our epigenetics, through epigenetics. It is a process called epigenetic imprinting that we carry the stories of our ancestors in our bodies, and we will pass them on as well. When we understand that, we know how to work with it, we can maximize it, not only to just clear and learn from our trauma and build resistance through the trauma of our ancestors, but also by embodying their attributes, their magic, their love, their wonder, their courage, their tenacity. We can bring that in as well. And I just want to share a super quick story about mice and cherry blossoms. This is a study that was done. It was a horrible study on mice, but it really demonstrates this science. And so they took some male only mice, and they exposed them to the smell of cherry blossoms. And at the same time that they were exposing them to the smell of cherry blossoms, they were also giving them electric shocks. And they got to the point where the mice would only need to smell the electric shock, smell the cherry blossom to go into a trauma response as they were associating the electric shock with the smell of cherry blossoms. Once they'd established that, they took the sperm from the original mice, and they artificially inseminated that sperm into the female mice. The male mice and the female mice never had any contact, so they were never able to have any little mouse conversations about cherry blossoms and how dangerous they are. It was just literally the sperm from the male mice artificially inseminated into the female mice. Those female mice had babies, and 2 generations down the line, when none of the mice had contact with the original mice, 2 generations down the line, when those future generations of mice smelt cherry blossom, they would go into a trauma response. We carry the stories of our ancestors in our body, and if we do not understand this and we don't know how to work with it, we are going to be at the mercy of it. And good luck in expanding into Quantum Maxima Life when you're being run by stories that don't belong to you. Yes, we carry it in our DNA. It runs down through epigenetic imprinting. It is incredibly powerful to understand this. And it is incredibly powerful to understand that we are not victims to that circumstances when we know how to work with it. Oh, and now this is the thing. This is a foundational piece that I work with. This is epigenetic and epigenetic profiling. This is understanding the hormonal wiring that makes each one of us our unique genius selves. We are hormonally wired by 6 key hormones. I'll speak very briefly about this. We're going to definitely dive deeper into this, but each one of us has a dominant hormone. And while we have all of the hormones in our body, we have definitely one and then multiple others that are like secondary or tertiary hormones that weave in and determine who we are, how we physically look, how our body functions, how our organs function, the way we need to set up our day, our mental state, the way our brain functions, the way we see the world, how we respond emotionally, our emotional health. And the beautiful thing about understanding this and understanding that we are literally wired by hormones that have been dominant during our early development. So when we were conceived, and I would actually say, because I work with ancestry as well, when we are conceived and carry the story of our ancestors in through that, but also live in our mother's womb, and then definitely up until at least the age of 7 and even beyond, we are deciding who we need to be in order to be loved and safe in the world. And that is a hormone. These are the hormones that come to the fore and drive who we are at a physical, mental, and emotional level. So the amazing thing about understanding this is it's not personal. So when it's not personal, we can actually start to meet our own needs. We can understand our core gifts from a non-personal place. And that is so empowering, because then it's about, oh, right, of course. Yeah, I'm wired like this. No, of course I am. Okay, cool. So how do I work with it? And then we can start to expand and evolve into something, evolve into our actual potential, and not be sitting at the mercy of believing that we should be something that we're actually not. And we get to learn and uncover and work with our unique genius. So these are essentially the 6 health types that are part of this profiling technology that we work with. Everyone fits somewhere in here. And if you have a look at the model, it's not to see 6 health types, because we're all linked, right? So if you can imagine this more as a 3D spiraling model, where it's dynamic and it shifts and it changes. And one of the other ways that I love working with this is that we can work with these almost archetypally. So I'm a diplomat here, but I also have quite a bit of activator, I have quite a bit of crusader, and I have some connector. And I also know how to tap into guardian and tap into sensor, right? So, but this is my dominant one. So when I know how to look after this, and when I understand this part of me, when I understand that I'm actually run by serotonin, and how to look after my serotonin, then I can be in a place of grounded centeredness, and I can set up my whole life so that it is in alignment with how I'm hormonally wired. Then I can lean into all of these other parts. And in fact, I've been leaning into my activator to come forward over the last couple of days so that I can be here and presenting this, right? So just because I have a dominant health type and I sit as a diplomat, doesn't mean that I'm stuck there. And I think this is the piece that I really wanted to share here. We're not stuck in any of this, but we have to understand how we are fundamentally wired, all of the things that contribute to us, how to functionally breathe, how to move in ways that break us out of convention, our conventional way of being. We have to understand these foundational pieces in order to be able to go to our next level. And what I love about all of the work that I do is it's extremely practical. It's extremely grounded in the 3D, and knowing that gives us something very practical and workable to work with. So just briefly, the dominant hormones are ACTH, oxytocin, prolactin, serotonin, vasopressin, and dopamine. And they are running your show. Knowing which ones are running the show changes everything, because you can understand what your core needs are. You get to know what your core wounds are. Yes, your core wounds are directly related to your dominant hormones. My core wound is serotonin. My core hormone is serotonin. My core wound is self-worth. It has been a life mission, knowing and developing my self-worth. And if I had known this information earlier on in my life, my whole life would have been different. Our core values are also highly linked to our hormones, the things that we care about. Our core gifts, what we're here to offer the world, and our genius. Like, where is our genius zone? This is all linked into how we are hormonally wired. If we understand this, again, we can then expand into possibility. It creates clarity, vitality, because we then have the energy to do what we want to do. We have the energy to live the life that we can live. We can quantum leap out of ordinary and into full expansion. And it's this beautiful stuff. It gives us permission to be the truth of who we are and not follow other people's rules. And when we understand this, it will change every relationship that you have, starting with the relationship with yourself. But I have literally gone through a complete crumbling of my relationship with my intimate partner this year, and we are rebuilding it from the ground up, and we can only do it. So I've been with my partner for 20 years, and the only way that we have made it through this year is by understanding how we are wired, and now being able to work with ourselves, meet ourselves at a fundamental level and as whole humans, so that we can come back and now operate from a place of synergy and magic. This is how we quantum leap our health, ourself, and our relationships. This is just starting to emerge in the world. It's a platform that I work with is unbelievably powerful, and I cannot wait to share more of it with you. And I do want to bring up human design, because what I'm talking about here is science-based. It's actually based on physical measurements of your body. Like literally we measure your physical body. And I had someone say to me yesterday, how does it, like I read out something about him in his profile. He's like, how does it know that I care about this based on measuring my head? Yes, it does. It's profound. So it's not a personality test. This is not subjective. It's not that. This is science-based and science-backed. But when we work with other things like human design, which I love, or even astrology, and we overlay those different things, we get a whole new layer of like magic. Human design, I like to see that as more like the macro. This is like the big vision of possibility. And epigenetic profiling and understanding your wiring is how we do it on the daily. This is how we like create the platform, the stability, so that we can actually live the potential of our design and our genius. So yes, that's all. I don't even know how much stuff I have to share. Hours and hours and hours of stuff to share with you all. And I cannot wait to be sharing all of this in Xpansion Alchemy. And yeah, we're going to be tapping. I am a teacher, and I just cannot wait to teach you how to become the authority of yourself, how to simplify things again, like so many people have spoken about, how to simplify and come back to the truth of who you are, because we need a world full of people who are living their life to their fullest potential. That is how we're going to create a magical, amazing world. That's how we're going to create a world that is worth living in. And I so want to be part of that. And I absolutely believe in the authority of each individual stepping forth into that. So yes. Thank you, Ania.
Thank you, Genevieve. Love you, appreciate you. That was incredible. I love all things human design. Genevieve and I have had multiple talks off of here. Again, she's a dear friend of mine as well, like everyone else has become in this beautiful community that I'm building. And I'm starting to get into epigenetics. I'm reading gene codes right now. It is a thick book, but it is so good, so powerful, how every single one of our genes makes up who we are, how we make decisions. Human design is so good for that as well. I know Nathan is big on human design. He talked earlier today. So good. So thank you, Genevieve. I love you. I appreciate you. Let's take a quick 2-minute break. If you guys have questions for any of the speakers, they're all hopping back on. Write them in the Zoom, in the chat, because our Facebook isn't working. We broke the matrix yet again, and we will return in just a minute and then get started with the Q&A.